Namaste everyone. Welcome to Index Seminars, January 20. Our topic today is about the composer of Ramayana, Valmiki, and the story behind his background and how he came about writing the Ramayana or composing the Ramayana. We have Dr. Madhavi Kolhatkar with us today. She is a Sanskrit. She was a Sanskrit professor at the Deccan College in Pune and a polyglot, knows German, Russian, Tibetan, and Japanese to add to her already vast knowledge of Sanskrit. She has published over 30 articles in a variety of themes. There are some upcoming books pending on Sanskrit grammar, and also Ramayana and the Mahabharata itself. Themes would be the Vedic ritual, religion, Japanology and Sanskrit literature, and she has co-authored a book called Pavitreshti, an Indian fire ritual. Without further talking about the topic and the author itself, I'll hand it over to Dr. Kolhatkar to proceed with the topic.
Thank you, Prasad. Suprabhat, friends. I'm very happy to express my gratitude towards Mr. Prasad Gokhale. It is due to him that I could be with you today on this platform. It is really a pleasure to get a chance to speak about a topic related to Ramayana, which is currently being sensational everywhere in the whole world. Before going to today's topic, I would like to pay homage to Mr. Raghav Ashtekar, Kothari Bandhu, and all other car sevaks who fought for this national cause, and also to congratulate all those who were instrumental in establishing that originally it was the Rama temple where afterwards the masjid was built. I always think that the main thread which keeps India connected and unified right from Lakshadweep to Ladakh and from Ajmer to Andaman is Sanskrit, and in it, moreover, the two great Indian epics, Mahabharata and Ramayana. It is well known that Mahabharata is authored by Maharshi Vyasa, and the author of Ramayana is Maharshi Valmiki. The narrative regarding the birth of Maharshi Vyasa is famous. There is a narrative regarding the birth of Sage Valmiki, which most of you, especially the Marathi speakers, must be acquainted with. I will cite it here in brief. The great sage Valmiki was first called Valya Koli. Koli in Marathi means a fisherman. We shall be dealing with it in the course of our discussion. He was a highwayman by profession. He used to rob travelers and take away their money on which his family subsisted. Once, Devarshi Narada came to him and saw what he was doing. He asked Valya about it. At that time, Valya told him that he has his parents, wife, children, and others in the family to support, and there is no other means by which he can do so. It is for the subsistence of his whole family. Narada calmly listened to him and then said, "Oh, so you are doing it for your family members. You must be aware that you have incurred sin committing robbery. Now go home and ask your wife, children, and all others whether they are ready to share your sin also." Obeying Devarshi, Valya went home and came back crestfallen, telling Narada that none of the family members was ready to share his sin. He further asked Narada how to atone for the sins he had committed till then. Narada advised him to mutter and meditate on the word Rama. Valya, however, immediately replied, "Oh, name of God? No, I can't utter it." Narada then told him to mutter the opposite of it, that is, Mara, meaning drop dead, with which Valya was quite familiar and agreed immediately to it. The story further states Following the advice of Narada, Valmiki then started muttering Mara Mara together with the performance of austerities, totally forgetting about food and drink. At that time, an ant hill formed around him and completely enveloped him, and hence he came to be venerated as Sage Valmiki. Here ends the story. The word Mara in it surely highlights the fact that the story must have been created in Marathi, the only language perhaps in which it is possible to transpose these two letters meaningfully. By the way, it would not be out of place to note here that in the Telugu version of the story, after Valmiki expressed his inability to pronounce the word Rama, Narada tells him to meditate on and muttered the word Maram, which was right in front of them. Maram in Telugu means tree. Having grown up with this story, its authenticity was never doubted till I came across the word Adbhuta Sambhava while working on the play Balabharata of the Maharashtrian literature Rajashekhara. The word Adbhuta Sambhava occurs only once in the whole of Sanskrit literature, which is one of the four plays of Rajashekhara, namely Balabharata. After the regular prelude having the Sutradhara in it, there occurs another introductory passage which has the conversation between Maharshi Vyasa and the great sage Valmiki. Therein, Vyasa, touching the feet of the great sage, addresses him, Bhagavan Adbhuta Sambhava Esham Vyasaha Parasharyaha Abhivadayate. That is, O celebrated Adbhuta Sambhava, this is Vyasa, the son of Parashara, paying obeisance to you. The meaning of the word is not at all difficult. It is of miraculous or wonderful birth. Rajashekhara himself informs us about what is meant by the miraculous birth when Vyasa, in the same conversation, further refers to Valmiki as Valmika Janma in a verse which reads, Yogindrash Chandasam Drashta Ramayana Mahakavihi Valmika Janma Jayati Pracha Prachetaso Munihi. This word also is a hapax, that is a word occurring only once in the whole of Sanskrit literature. And as is well known, it refers to the birth of Valmiki from an anthill. The compound Valmika Janma can thus be solved Valmika Sambandhiva iti Valmikam. Valmikam Janma Yasya Sa Valmika Janma, meaning thereby one who is born from an anthill is Valmika Janma or Valmika Janma also. Then I tried to find the original occurrence of and the exact reference to the related narrative in the critical edition of the Ramayana. However, to my surprise, it was not found in it. Then I felt it necessary to see how it might have come into existence, the narrative have come into existence and become popular even at the time of Rajashekhara. To decide that, it is necessary to see the reference to Valmika or Valmika in some narrative in the literature before Rajashekhara. The word Valmika and Valmika do occur in a narrative in the Vana Parvan of the Mahabharata. It is regarding the sage Chavana Bhargava. Thus it reads, the great sage Bhrigu had a son called Chavana. Being the son of Bhrigu, he was called Chavana Bhargava. He was very brilliant and observed asceticism near a pond. While doing so, he became like a statue in Virasthana, a particular position and remained so for a long time. Then there occurs a verse, Sa Valmikaha abhavad rushihi latabhihi abhisamrutaha kalena mahata rajan samakirna pipilikaihi. Now this verse can be translated in two ways. First will be, after a long time, the sage, surrounded by creepers, was full of ants and turned into an anthill. And the second will be, after a long time, that sage was surrounded by creepers and was full of ants. He turned into an anthill and came to be known as the sage Valmiki. I prefer the second option since, though not Valmiki, the word Valmiki occurs at Mahabharata as a name of a sage. Thus reads the verse, Vasishtho Vamadevascha Bhuridyumno Gayakratha Shukra Narada Valmika Maruta Kushiko Bhrugu Krishnam Pradakshinam Avartanta Sahita Vasavanujam. Meaning, Vasishtha, Vamadeva, Bhuridyumna, Gaya, Kratha, Shukra, Narada, Valmika, Maruts, Kushika, and Bhrugu circumambulated Krishna, the younger brother of Vasava, clockwise. Valmika can mean here the one related to Valmika or also a son or a descendant of Valmika. Thus, it can be concluded that the story of Chavana Bhargava of the Vedic text and the reference to the Valmika and anthill are merged here, and a new sage called Valmika or Valmika has emerged in mythology. The word Chavana occurs in the Vedic Samhitas as well, but there it does not cite any narrative about him. It is either name of a person in general or an adjective. The narrative of Chavana Bhargava occurs in the Brahmana text in the Vedic literature, in the Shatapatha Brahmana. Thus it is in brief. Bhrugu Angirasas went to heaven, leaving Chavana Bhargava behind. He was very old, haggard, and of the nature of Krutya, a sorcerer. Once King Sharyati Manava, while wandering, reached that place. His children were playing nearby. They saw Chavana and, thinking that he is useless, threw stones at him. Being very angry with them, he created discord in his group. Sons started fighting with their father, and siblings started to fight with each other. Sharyata thought over it and tried to find out the cause of the discord. He gathered all the cowherds and shepherds and asked them whether anybody has seen anything different that day. They reported about the children throwing stones at Chavana. Sharyata then took his daughter Sukanya with him in a chariot and asked forgiveness of the sage and gave his daughter to him in marriage as a form of atonement of the sin caused by the behavior of his sons. Then Chavana told some ritual secret to Ashwins and helped them get some share of the offerings in a sacrifice. As a reward, they made Chavana free of his old age and made him young again. In this story, however, there is no reference to Valmiki, etc. Now the problem is, how did he, that is Valmiki, turn, of course in the narrative, into a highwayman from being a sage? In this connection, there are some important verses in Anushasana Parvan of the Mahabharata, which read, Valmikishchapi Bhagavan Yudhishtiram Abhashata Vivade Samni Munibhihi Brahmakno Vai Bhavan iti. क्षणेन चाविष्टः तेना धर्मेण भारत सोहम ईशानमनघम अस्तौषम शरणं गतः मुक्तश्चास्म्यवशः पापात् ततो दुःख विनाशनः. The meaning of the verses is Bhagavan Valmiki told Yudhishthira, O Bharata, in a debate regarding summons, I was accused by the sages that you are a Brahmagna, and I was immediately afflicted with that adharma. Being innocent, I took resort to Ishana and praised him. And then I became free of the sin. Thence I have become Dukkha Vinashana, that is, one who puts an end to griefs. The story is completed here. I think this narrative, especially the word Brahmagna, needs some attention. The word Brahman can surely mean a Brahmana, and hence Brahmagna can mean one who has killed a Brahmana. But can one be free of the sin of killing a Brahmana, which is one of the three Mahapatakas, great sins, just by praising God? If not, can there be some better solution for this? It is necessary to see here if Brahmagna can have some other meaning more suitable to the context. As is seen, the context is of Saman or the discussion regarding Samans. Saman means a ruk, that is, a verse or mantra from Rigveda put to tunes and sung in a Soma sacrifice. It then suggests that the word Brahman can mean here a mantra or chant which is well known. Regarding the Vedic literature, the Samhitas have mantra portion which is also called Brahman. The text which explain the meaning, context and employment and other things of the mantras and formulae are called Brahmanas. That is the text dealing with the Brahman, that is mantras. The word Brahman in the sense of mantra occurs also in Ramayana. The verse reads, Nachahutam abhut atra, abhut tatra, स्खलितं वापि किंचन दृश्यते ब्रह्मवत् सर्वं क्षेमयुक्तं हि चक्रिरे. Meaning, there was no such offering which was necessary but was not offered. No mistake was committed. Everything was performed accompanied with Brahman, that is mantras, and moreover, everything performed was beneficial. Quotation complete. Then it can be imagined that there might have been some debate regarding some mantras and samans in which he, that is Valmiki, might have committed some grave mistakes for which he was cursed as Brahmagna. Then by praising Ishana in proper way, he became free of that sin. In the course of time though, the other meaning of Brahman might have got attached to it and made the sage Valmiki a killer. Thus, it is seen that following the vow, Itihasa Puranabhyam Vedam Samupabrumayet, meaning the Vedas should be elaborated with the help of Itihasa and the Puranas. The Vedic story of Chavana should be elaborated with the help of the Vedic story of Chavana was elaborated in the Mahabharata with the addition of the word Valmika, Valmika and Valmiki. By the way, Itihasa here means Mahabharata. Further, the story was elaborated in the Puranas, especially in the Skanda Purana, where the references such as Tataste Bhavita Janma Valmikasya Rushehe Kule, meaning then you were born in the family of the sage Valmika. Then tapasyantam tamachakrama valmikam, which means when he was thus practicing asceticism, an anthill was formed upon him. Similarly, Valmikena saveshtitaha, meaning he was engulfed with an anthill, etc. According to Kamil Bulke, who is a scholar of Ramayana, the first reference to Valmiki being a robber comes in the Skanda Purana. In the Skanda Purana occurs a story of Shankha and Vyadha in this connection, which reads, Shankhaha Vyadham ahūya rushtatma मूर्ध्नि प्रोक्ष निरीक्ष्य च रामेति द्व्यक्षरं नाम ददौ वेदाधिकं शुभम् विष्णोरेकैकनामापि सर्ववेदाधिकं मतम् तस्माद् रामेति तन्नाम जपव्यादनिरन्तरं धर्मान् एतान् कुरु व्याध यावद् आमरणान्तिकम् ततस्ते भविता जन्म वल्मीकस्य ऋषेः कुले वाल्मीकिरिति नाम्ना च भूमौ ख्यातिम् अवाप्स्यसि इति व्याधं समादिश्य प्रतस्थे दक्षिणां दिशं व्याधोऽपि तं परिक्रम्य प्रणम्य च पुनः पुनः वन्यैः कपित्थपनसैः जम्बूचूतादिभिः फलैः मार्गगानां श्रमार्तानाम् आहारं परिकल्पयन् उपानद्भिश्चन्दनैश्च छत्रैश्च व्यजनैरपि वालुकास्तरणोपेत छायाभिश्च क्वचित् क्वचित् आजहाराथ पान्थानां श्रमं स्वेदोद्भवं तथा प्रातः स्नात्वा दिवारात्रं जपन् नामेति वै मनु व्याधजन्मनि नामासौ वल्मीकस्य सुतोऽभवत्, which means Shankha called Vyadha and initiated him in two letters, namely Ra, Ma, which is more auspicious than even the Vedas. Some opine that even a single name of Vishnu is better than all the Vedas. He then told the Vyadha to always mutter the name Rama and to perform some rites till death. By doing so, he would be born in his next birth in the family of the great sage Valmika and would be famous as Valmiki. Telling him so, he started for south. Vyadha also circumambulated and paid obeisance to him again and again. Then the Vyadha, always muttering the letters Ra, Ma, served the passers-by, treating them to various fruits, etc., and achieved the name the son of Valmika in the birth of Vyadha itself. Here ends the story. This narrative does remind us of the muttering on the name Rama in the story of Valya Koli. However, he is also not the one who composed the epic Ramayana. Immediately following this story comes the story of Krunu. Thus it is, Krunurnama munik kaschit tasminneva sarovare tapo vai dustaram tepe bahya vyapara varjitah valmikam abhavad dehe tasya kalena bhuyasa valmika ititam prahur ato vai munipunghavam पश्चात् तपो विरामान्ते कृणौ स्मृतिपथं गते स्त्रियो अनुस्मरतो राजन् स्खलितं चेन्द्रियं मुनेः जग्राह शैलुषी काचित् तस्यां जज्ञे वनेचरः वाल्मीकिरिति विख्यातो भुवनेषु महायशः यो वै रामकथां दिव्यां स्वै प्रबन्धैर्मनोहरैः लोके प्रख्यापयामास कर्मबन्ध निकृन्तनीम्, which means In the same pond was a sage called Krunu. He was engaged in practicing tapas, forgetting about all the outward dealings, vyaparas. After a long time, there formed an anthill on his body, and thence the great Muni then was called Valmika. Then, after the observance of the tapas was complete, he came to his senses, and while he was thinking about women, his semen dropped. A Shailushi, that is a dancer, took it and gave birth to a child who became a Vanechara, a wanderer in forest, and became famous in all the worlds as Valmiki, who narrated the divine life story of Rama in his beautiful compositions, which cuts off the shackles of karma. Story is completed here. So, this is the story which is similar to our story of Valmiki, the composer of Ramayana. In the Khanda of the Skanda Purana occurs one more narrative of Valmika and Valmiki, which is very much similar to the story we all know. Thus it reads, Ishvara says, there is a sacred place called Shulasthana, where a great sage called Valmiki, who had robbed the 7 sages before, Saptarshaya, was practicing asceticism. Mahadevi Parvati got interested in the story and wanted to hear it in detail. Then Ishvara narrated it to her. Once there was a Dvija Brahmin called Shamimukha. He gave birth to a son who was named Vaishakha. He got engaged in cruel deeds. Except serving the elders, he did not do any other commendable deed. When his parents grew old, he started going to the main road to rob the passers-by of their wealth to feed his parents and his own family. Once there came those 7 sages on their way to pilgrimage. He stopped them, threatening them with his staff. At that time, the sage Angiras asked him whom he was supporting. The next verse has some mistake in it. Thus it reads, Syatam me pitaro vruddhau tu bharyaika patyavarjita eka dasi yaham shashto nanyadasti adhikam mune. Which would mean, there are my old parents, a wife without an issue, a female maidservant, and I as the 6th. But these actually become 5. It might be better to amend the word apatya varjita as apatya vardhita, which would mean a wife who raised a child, and then it would give the desired number 6. Then the sage Angiras told him to go home and ask if anyone was ready to share his sin. Being convinced that one who abandons the company of good people commits sin and neither serves the learned nor loves his own self, he came back to the sages and told them to leave with their belongings. He further asked them to forgive him and to guide him how to be free of the sin. They told him to mutter a 4-lettered mantra, Jha Ta Gho Ta. He started doing so and continued it for thousands of years till an anthill grew on his body. Then those 7 sages again came there and heard the sound coming out of that anthill. After digging it, they saw Vaishakha there, intent on muttering the mantra. They told him that all his relatives had passed away, and since he was focused on his mutterance, an anthill had formed on him, and he would become famous in this world by the name Valmiki. Moreover, he would gain mastery over language and would compose Ramayana and then would be liberated. They gave him the boon that that particular place would become a place of pilgrimage called Moolasthana. Here ends the story. Thus, the origin of the story highlights the importance of the Vedic text and Mahabharata in Indian culture. The Mahabharata has remained and will forever remain as Upajivya, that is, it will always be providing topics for literary composition for each and every Indian in various ways. However, there still remain some more problems unsolved. One of them is, why is Valmiki said to be Valya Koli in Marathi? Because in Marathi, the word Koli means a fisherman, but it is also a name of a particular group and surname of some families. This meaning is not very well known. The word is entered in Webster's English into English dictionary also, which gives the meaning either a people of Bombay, Mysore, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and the Punjab in India, and a member of the Koli people. Then, rather than fishermen, a people of Bombay, Mysore, Andhra Pradesh, and Punjab, etc., regions of India seems to be a better meaning in the present context. It seems to be a tribe or at least a community of people. Moreover, it is heard that even now, on government level also, it is not properly defined. The other and more important point is about the chronology of Rajashekara and that of the Skanda Purana. Regarding his date, Principal Apte, in his excellent monograph on Rajashekara, has stated, I quote, the conclusion that may be drawn on the date of Rajashekara is that he flourished between the end of the 7th and the middle of the 10th century, and that he must probably have lived about the end of the 8th century if the evidence furnished by Kshiraswami's references to his works be accepted as quite satisfactory. Unquote. According to Dalal, the editor of Rajashekara's other work, Kavya Mimamsa, tells us that Rajashekara was working as a teacher of King Nirbhaya Mahipala and was patronized by his son Mahipala of Gurjara Pratihar dynasty of the Madhya Desha, having his capital at Kanauj, now in Uttar Pradesh, and can reasonably be assigned the period of 880 to 920 AD. There is one more internal evidence available now regarding his date, and it is the description of the letter T in Devanagari occurring in the play Balabharata itself, which suggests, on the basis of inscriptional evidence, that it cannot be much after 685 AD. Thus, then, he can easily be placed somewhere at the end of the 7th or the beginning of the 8th century. It means that the occurrence of the words in discussion also can be said to be later than the 7th century and earlier than the half of the 10th century. The approximate date of the Skanda Purana, as is fixed in the Pune dictionary, is between 900 and 1000 AD. However, this is the date of the earlier strata of the text. It is seen growing and being interpolated at least till 16th, 17th century. Hence, Rajashekara can be placed earlier than the composition of the Skanda Purana. Then it is possible to conclude that based on the references in the Mahabharata, it is Rajashekara who first used the adjectives Adbhuta Sambhava and Valmika Janma for the sage Valmiki. And then, taking inspiration from him, the Puranakara built up the further narrative. Moreover, there is nothing to wonder about it. Since, as is already hypothesized with proper arguments, that even the famous story of Ganesha becoming the scribe of Maharshi Vyasa for writing Mahabharata, which is not included in the critical text of the Mahabharata published by Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, first comes in Rajashekhara's play Balabharata and then is interpolated in the Devanagari manuscripts of the Mahabharata. After settling thus the relative chronology of these two texts now, one must take into consideration some important details regarding the playwright. Apte in his work on Rajashekhara has neither dealt with the Ganesha myth or the verse under discussion in detail. However, it is necessary to see his remarks regarding Rajashekhara and also whether they can be useful in drawing some conclusion in present context. While commenting on the play under discussion in particular and Rajashekhara in general, Apte states, I quote, "It is not possible to form any estimate of the worth of this play in its present imperfect state. But if we may judge of the whole from its parts, the verses are smooth and flowing." Unquote. The observations Apte has made next about Rajashekhara are important to establish how his ideas became popular and entered in various other texts. Apte continues, and I quote, "From this examination of Rajashekhara's works, it will not be difficult to gather his principal characteristics as a writer. He is undoubtedly a poet of great learning and much information. His chief merit appears to be the powerful command he has over language, the varied vocabulary he can call to his aid. The Veera Rasa or heroic sentiment is undoubtedly his forte, and in depicting it, he has shown a remarkable skill, only second to Bhavabhutis, in adapting his words to the sentiment, and in not a few places, he shows how well he recognized the importance of Pope's well-known canon, "The sound should seem an echo of the saints." He has also an inventive genius, a creative fancy, but his flights are never very high, except in the invention of similes. He was probably tired of the trite, commonplace similes and metaphors used almost to the satiety of his predecessors in the field, and he has therefore often evolved ideas exclusively out of his own brain. Credit is due to the poet for his fertile imagination. Unquote. However, what he says next about him is very important in the present context. Thus, he states, "A remarkable characteristic of Rajashekhara's style is that copious use of Prakrit language. One great peculiarity of his Prakrit is that we find in it several words which in many cases exactly resemble their vernacular equivalents. The poet has mostly used Maharashtri dialect, and several words used by him are allied to the Marathi forms of the same words. Thus, Mahalla and Mahal, Khidakya and Khidki, Bailla and Baila, Thakkasi and Thaktos, Chukkati and Chukto. These are some of the words that I have picked at random, and a careful reader will be able to discover many more." I unquote. Apte further observes, "But the more important characteristic is the abundant use of proverbial forms of speech and the frequent employment of conversational or colloquial phrases in support of assertions. This is a very peculiar feature of his style, which at once distinguishes him from all his predecessors. The following are some of the examples I have noticed. Varam tatkalopanata tittiri na punar divasantarita mayuri. Shyalabharya Ardhabharya, which reminds us of Sali Adi Garwali. Kim gate salile setu bandhena. Kim gate vivahe nakshatra parikshaya. Hastakankanam kim darpane prekshate. From this, in Marathi, the proverb is हातच्या कंकणाला आरसा कशाला. पायिता जीर्ण माझ्या मार्जारी दुग्धमिती तक्रम. शीर्षे सर्पो देशांतरो वैद्या, which are found interspersed in the productions of the author. Unquote. Thus being the situation in general, and maybe Rajashekhara being aware of his own worth as well as his limitations, must have conceived of the meeting of the two authors as a necessary condition for the development of his style.
Yeah, seems like we've lost connectivity. Let's wait for a few seconds. Seems like there is a connectivity problem on the speaker side. Hopefully she'll join back in 2 seconds. Thank you. Madhavita, you're on mute.
Thank you. Now you can hear, na?
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Moreover, Rajashekhara seems to have been a very popular poet, as for example, we can see that he is almost word to word translated and quoted by the 13th century saint poet Naneshwara when he requests his readers, Tari न्यूनते purate, adhikate sarate, karuna gheyavehe tumate vinavitu ase, meaning it is my humble request to you to please make it complete whatever is less here and lessen whatever is in excess and make it palatable to you. Which immediately reminds one of Rajashekhara's advice to the students aspiring to become a kavi, that is a creative writer, which reads Adhikasya tyagaha nyunasya puranam anyata sthitasya parivartanam prasmrutasya anusandhanam cha. His popularity is further evident also from the praise in Tilaka Manjari. Then Kosambi also has praised him a lot. Moreover, many of his aphorisms have become very popular among the common people as well. Similarly, the story of Vyasa and Ganesha must have also been popular and hence was inserted into the text of the Mahabharata by some modern Vyasa. It is not a coincidence that it is found inserted in the Devanagari manuscripts only and also that of the edition of the Maharashtrian commentator Nilakantha of the last part of the 17th century. Thus, being the popularity of the author, it is no wonder if the present words from the same story are picked up by some Puranakara and used for the fanciful account of the birth of the sage poet Valmiki. Now, this much about the story of Valmiki, which tells us how the myth of how Valya Koli becoming Valmiki might have come into vogue. There is one more vitally important point to be noted in this story. When we call Valya a Koli, he is other than a Brahmana. But when he became Valmiki, the sage, he is considered as a Brahmana. But when he became Valmiki, it will not be out of place to quote here one Marathi phrase, ऋषींचं कुळ आणि नदीचं मूळ शोधायला जाऊ नये. That is, the origin or caste of a rishi and also of a river should not cast there, only the origin, should never be searched for or discussed. The narrative here is a very good example which shows that Brahmanatva is not by caste in the epic Ramayana, which represents Indian culture. It is a quality, an attitude, a tendency, an approach towards life, further, a profession, an academic profession as well. It can be acquired by anybody, by a person of any birth. It does not at all depend on which family you are born in, but what you do once you are born. One more example of it is in the same epic, that of the sage Vishwamitra. According to the narrative in the Ramayana, Vishwamitra was a king, a Kshatriya by birth. Once he saw the wish-fulfilling cow of the sage Vasishta and also his Brahmanical power and decided to achieve the Brahmanatva. He observed severe tapas and seeing the power of his tapas people started to accept him as Brahmarshi who was previously a Rajarshi. In short, it is as Bhagavan Sri Krishna has proclaimed, Chaturvarnyam maya srushtam gunakarma vibhagashaha, meaning, I have created the arrangement of the four categories based on the division of attributes and actions or professions. There is one more point most of you must have noticed already and should at least passingly taken cognizance of. And it is the reference to the word pradakshina and the concept behind it, which has occurred thrice in the above discussion about the discussion. It is a topic for another talk and we can discuss it some other time. It will suffice to state here that it is the practice observed in Indian culture to suggest that we respect you. When you circumambulate some person, you are telling him that we respect you and will sacrifice even our own life to protect you. As is expressed in a way in Marathi, आम्ही आमचा जीव तुमच्यावरून उवाळून टाकू. Yes, even the deities, that is the murtis, need protection. Therefore, we do the pradakshina in a temple. You might be remembering that the murti of the deity made of pure gold was stolen from the temple in Diveagar in Konkan and was melted and never found again. It is no wonder then, as it is circulated on WhatsApp, that a lock of 400 kilograms is offered to the Ramalalla temple by a couple of Aligarh, Mr. Satyaprakash Sharma and his wife. With this, I conclude. Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you, Madhavi ji. Excellent information. Something very new, especially the reference to Rajashekara. At least myself, I was not really aware of this particular personality. And it seems like his works are the origination of these stories. Of Valmiki being, Valya Koli and all that. So if anyone has a question, you can please raise a hand in Zoom. It's in the reactions menu. You can directly ask. You'll be unmuted. And you can directly ask the question to the speaker. In the meantime, while people are thinking, I have a question. So there is a reference. It's very, it's very different. There is a reference to Valmiki in the Mahabharata.
Yes.
We know the Yudhishthir conversation you mentioned. So
Yes.
does it mean, so is this Valmiki the same as the one from Ramayana, or is it, because, these two historical events are few thousands apart?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, so much of the portion of the epics is common. Sometimes we feel that there is rivalry to borrow from each other. For example, till now we know that the practice of niyoga is found only in Mahabharata, in the birth of the three Kauravas, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura. But if you see Ramayana, there also they have, how can I say, it seems that later added the niyoga concept. It is the um, you it is Shiva whose semen has dropped, which is given to Agni, and then he places in Ganga, though Parvati was able to conceive. So maybe this story has originated just to accommodate the Niyoga from Mahabharata to Ramayana. And there are so many such examples. But we can't decisively say that he is the same Valmiki. Because regarding Janaka also there is problem. Janaka occurs in Chatapatha Brahmana also, in Ramayana also, and in Mahabharata also. But nobody can be sure whether he is the same Janaka the king. But the names do occur, and sometimes the topics also occur. And there is surely the borrowings from each other.
Hmm. So would it be possible that, because other rishis are from certain families like Vasishtha, Vyas, and even
Mm.
Angiras, and they were all families. Is it possible that
Yes.
this Valmiki was coming from a certain lineage of education, or some ashram, or certain family of?
Can't say because that is the first occurrence. Valmika actually means an anthill, and it comes in Vedic texts, but not in any narrative. It is just in the ritual context. So we can't tell that what is the origin of Valmiki.
Hmm.
And
So,
therefore, maybe Rajashekhara, I mean, he knows Mahabharata word to word. He knows that what words occur in Mahabharata, what are the, for example, we know so many names of persons from their mother. That is, Ganga's son is Gangeya, who is Bhishma. Prutha's son is Partha, who is Arjuna. Kunti's son is Kaunteya, all the six ones. But there is no such maternal word for Vyasa. Rajashekhara notices it, and he has coined the word Satyavateya, that is the son of Satyavati, in his play. Other example is the word Vadava. This word Vadava occurs only in Mahabharata and then in Kavya Mimamsa of Rajashekhara. Now, Vadava means fire, and the deity of Brahmana is Vadava. So, one who has Vadava as his deity is Vadava. So, Vadava means a Brahmana, and the word doesn't occur anywhere else. So, such is the mastery of Rajashekhar on Mahabharata. But so that
so
much I can tell. Yeah.
also in the, so Vyas, of course, the Vyas we know, the
Yes.
last Vyas was from Mahabharata. And
Yes.
Valmiki was pretty much, the composer of Ramayana.
Yes.
Are there any references? Because after that, Vyas didn't exist. After Mahav, he was the last Vyas so far, right? So that's
Oh,
our
Vyasa is Chiranjeev.
right, right. I mean, in
Yeah.
terms of historical perspective, right? So that was the, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
Valmiki, does it occur in any references after Mahabharata other than the Rajashekhara's references?
Regarding Valmiki,
Because yeah,
uh,
seems like it doesn't come anywhere else very often.
not in this sense, that is connecting him with Valmika. That surely doesn't. It is only the Skanda Purana.
Hmm.
But as a sage, he must be mentioned, surely.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh, Namaste, Guru Ma. Can I talk
Namaste.
to you? Namaste. Uh,
Namaste.
and talking about the reference of the Vibhishanji in the Mahabharata, I think you
Yeah.
know about that.
Huh?
Uh, that the Nakulji has gone to meet him, that you should take the part in our war in the Mahabharata. But he doesn't mention, but he doesn't uh, take the part in that. And after that, there is no other reference of the Vibhishanji in that. So, like
Hmm.
that, any other reference of the Vyasji regarding the after the conclusion of the Mahabharata is there?
A reference to what? Sorry, I could not get the word.
Reference of the Vyasji in the Mahabharata re- after the
Vyasji.
Mahabharata war.
Ah, I think all the Puranas are supposed to be composed by Vyasa after Mahabharata, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's after the Mahabharata or before the Mahabharata?
You mean Puranas?
Yeah.
I would say they are simultaneous and then it's a continuous process. Some Puranas are very late, but some must
Okay.
be simultaneous or just after Mahabharata.
Do you think that is a Bhavishya Puran is also written by him?
Bhavishya Purana is very late. No, this is, I mean, whether it is written by him or not, it is the tradition which believes. That way we have to understand.
Okay.
If if you say if you see the meaning of Vyasa, it is just one who analyzes and properly arranges. So in a way, he is the editor, we can say. In that sense, we have to take the term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there is a one more question regarding the Uttarkand,
Yes.
that the Valmiki ji has written the Ramayana. So he has also
Uh,
included the episode of the Shimbuk,
no. I
episode of
mean,
the
I will
Shimbuk in
tell
that
you
Ramayana.
about it. This is a very good question. As you must have noted, I mean, you must be conversant with the information that in Mahabharata, in Adi Vamshavattarana, in the Adi Parva, they give the list of which topics are coming in the Mahabharata afterwards. Similarly, in Ramayana also they have given, and there the story or the composition of Ramayana, it ends with Rama coming to Nandigrama, and therefore surely there is no reference to Uttarakanda there in
Mm-hmm.
the uh, first part of the Balakanda. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, yeah, earlier part, I would say.
So the
So,
episode of Love Kush is there or not in the Valmiki
sorry,
Ramayana?
episode of
Love Kush ji is there or not?
Lavakush. No, no, no. It is not there. It is not there. It is not there. In that list, it is not there. No reference to Lava and Kusha.
So it means that there is any other Valmiki person is there who has written that?
And I think the Indians have a tendency that whatever they find new, they want to attach it to the treatise which is already become standard. Just like we have Veda Pramanya, we can coin the word Pramana Veda Nyaya. For example, about Gita. Is Gita Upanishad? It
No.
comes, I mean, in the
Uh,
true sense of the word. Is it Vedic? It is not.
no.
After the Vedic composition is over, it is the Arsha Mahakavyas. Gita comes in Mahabharata. But it's very important. It has so much worth. It has so much good advice to people. Therefore, they wanted to standardize it. And therefore, when it was separated from the Mahabharata, it is called Bhagavad Gita Upanishad. Isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
This is the Indian tendency, we can say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got the answer. धन्यवाद माता जी.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji. I think we are on top of the hour. Lots of information, Madhavi ji, plus so this is a very detailed topic, and a lot of a lot it's there is a lot which gets talked about Mahabharata and Vyas, but Valmiki is never talked about as much. But thank you for bringing this topic up. This was great.
Thank you, Prasad,
very technical,
for
very
giving me opportunity
evidence-based, very evidence-based and lots of information. I'm sure people can watch this video again and again. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
And thank you, Madhaviji, again.
Thank you. Thank you.